Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much for being such a great moderator of this morning session, even yesterday. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I know it's snowing. It has been snowing. It's very cold, Chicago. The coldest period of time of the year. Those who are coming from Uganda, welcome to Chicago. The wind city. So it's cold, but it's a wonderful city. I'm sure you're having a good time here in Chicago. You see the room is not full, but what counts is not the number of people, it's the quality. The quality, what you can accomplish. One single individual can accomplish where many millions of people cannot. So we value each of you being here, starting by thanking you, Chairman, Mr. Albert Bagogo, for your leadership, your vision, everything you are doing to bring Uganda to the global markets. Now, when you are looking to achieve how to enter the US market. Second, I want to thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador of Uganda to the United States of America, for being here this morning. If you can stand, please to be recognized by everybody who's here, please. Those Americans are here, members of the chambers, business community. If you want to go to Uganda, you need to go to her. You need a visa, so to go to Uganda. So she's a key person to go through. So as we are coming to Uganda very soon, we need you. That's why we really appreciate your presence this morning to be with us. Regardless busy time in Washington DC, you know Washington DC has been crazy. This session we are having here in Chicago, I will call it like a side session of what's happening in Washington DC, which is the US Africa Head of State Summit. That has been taking place from 12 December through December 15. Mr. Chairman, I was part of the planning committee with within the people at the White House. We've been working together, some of people. I was supposed to be at that meeting from 12 to 15, but because I'm a Pan-Africanist by heart, I'm committed to this, I'll be with this. I was in Washington DC in 12. I did the round trip, I went there, meet people we've been planning together. I told them, guys, I know we've been doing well, planning to make sure our head of state, when they come to the US, they're taken care of. He's a member of AGOA Civil Society. We are part of AGOA. We've been an advocacy organization, we're part of making sure Africa is heard. Also, I want to recognize Chief AGOA, for advocating for Africa. Susan, can you stand please to be recognized? Please give her a round of applause. I want to give her more help. The reason why I'm saying this is we have around 6,000 eligible products from Africa to enter the US market. What is coming here is not even 2%. We're not fulfilling opportunities given to us as Africans in here. So also I want to recognize each of you. I'm not going to spell your name. Each of you, you are very special to us. In your capacity being here this morning, because you are committed to be here this morning. I want to make these sessions. This is what I said yesterday. This is the day. This is the day where we are going to close the deals. If you don't see vendors here, you don't see the room is filled, they're just closing the deals outside. They're discussing with people. Let's help them. When they go back, they have a partners in this side of America. Now what I want to do, I want to moderate from now to the end, the 5 or 6 panels. The first panel we focus on boosting the trade between the US and Uganda. Yes, you want to boost the trade. What does it take to remove those non-tariff barriers, right? We need those bottlenecks we're gonna face. Certification, standards, all kinds of stuff we face to be able to boost the trade. That is gonna be the second panel. The third panel, we want to hear the success stories. Some of US companies doing business in Uganda, they want to tell us what they're doing. We have here in the group some of US companies. Arthur, can you stand up, Arthur? Arthur is an African American who's a businessman here in Chicago. He has been working so hard to do business in Africa. He came to me and said, I want to be a member of the chamber, but I don't know how to do business in Africa. I've been in Ghana once, I couldn't make it. I said, there was one thing missing. You have a part of a community. We have to have a voice. If you face challenges, you have someone who is a spokesperson who can talk on your behalf. As an individual, it's hard to enter any market. But when you have a group, like a chamber, work as a group, then you'll be able to be there. That's why I invited him. I said, Arthur, come here. Talk to Ugandans who can help you to get in Uganda. Those kind of business people want to hear Americans who are doing their best to go in the Ugandan markets, but they are, they have some challenges they need to do. We want to hear Anjiro Coffee, who is doing well in Uganda, and the other business here you have never seen before, who are not in Uganda, who can come here share their stories. And then the next session, the fourth session, will be talking about finance. As you've heard those key pillars, Mr. Rwabogo mentioned about his vision. One of those is to establish export credit fund facility to be able to address funding issues our exporters in Uganda are facing. How can you establish that fund? There's a guarantee fund, also access to capital to be able to export your products. So we have some people here who came from a US government, like SBA, Small Business Administration, expert in international finance. He's here. We are lucky because I was told no one from the US government, the federal government, cannot work on the weekends. It's a Saturday. They can work on Monday to Friday. They said they need a special authorization. But because a guy, Stephen, who is here, is out, he's going to come back, he has been a fighter for the chamber. He said, I'm committed to come, even if it's a weekend. I'm supposed to be paid, but I'm going to do it without being paid. So we are glad to him to be here. So we want to see best practices on finance. Maybe something I did not share with you. As I said, my name is Olivier Kamanzi. You said everybody, but my expertise is in finance. If you are asking me finance, I know it. I can package anything and sell it. I'm an investment banker, more than investment banker. I'm on capital market. Have expertise in capital market, the design of stock exchange, all the kind of stuff. That's what I understand better. You ask finance, that's my passion. I would like to sit in that panel, share my own experience, how you can raise money, be able to fund what you are doing. Some of the things on personal capacity, if you see Rwanda here flying, I helped to raise $500 million in Africa to set up, to develop the tourism of Rwanda, to develop the, if you see Kigali Convention, Rwanda here, I helped to raise money to fund those. So those kind of, I want to do similarly in Uganda at my personal humble capacity. Myself investing in Uganda, just to let you know, this is an area of finance. I want to stress on, we need to make sure we have funding or business funding they need to make it happen. So last panel is how do we attract Americans to visit Uganda? This will be focused on tourism. That will be the last panel, so that everyone who is here who wants to visit Uganda, they have a clarity and the visibility when I come to Uganda, what we are doing. Tourism is a big animal. It's a cross-cutting industry or sector whereby infrastructure, accommodation. I have seen some people who are involved in the hotel accommodation. Some people are here maybe and they want to hear what Uganda has to offer. So I would like to hear what they have to say. So I'm not moderator, I'll be there to make sure we exchange on this program. This time around, I'm going to invite the first panel. The first panel will be moderated by Brenda. Brenda, are you here? Yes, Brenda, please, you can call the podium, please. Brenda is head of marketing for PACID, Presidential Advisory Committee on Exports and the Industrial Development. She will take a lead and then help this panel. So this panel, I'm going to invite you, if you are here, to come up on the podium and then join Brenda. Brenda, if you can come up here, please. And I want to invite Amos Tindwebwa, Managing Director for Fresh Cuts Company. You can sit over here, on this side. On the end. Yes, this side. Please sit here. So next will be Amos is here. Okay, of course, Susan Uwezi, Senior Presidential Advisor on our board. Please, you can come up here. So can we take it to mirror? Steve, I will call you later, not now. I will call you, not now. Yes. And then, last but not least, we have Dr. Robert Chewy. If you can come up with this. Again, these people you see here will be discussing about on how to boost trade between Uganda and the US through AGOA and the EFCFTA. Those who don't know FCFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we do need to touch the policy on the African side. So AGOA, African Growth Opportunity Act, this is they're going to explain to us what it is, right? You help us to understand. I want also, if any one of you can take explaining to us what is EFCFTA. Maybe you heard of AGOA, you have some knowledge. If someone has knowledge, you can share with us. If not, you let me know I know something about EFCFTA. I've been involved from the beginning up to today. So if anybody else has some knowledge about it, you can raise your hand. Let me know, we invite you here. So now, the floor is yours. It's your panel. You have 40 minutes. Thank you, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Like Mr. Kamati has said, I am Brenda Katarikawe Opus, and I work with the...
I hope I did not breach the protocols. I have to apologize deeply. I promise I want to bring it on the stage before we begin. This is the host, someone who's hosting us. Your Excellency, I apologize. If you can come on the stage, please. Her Excellency Ambassador is going to say a few words before we begin. I'm so sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Mine is not really to say much other than to thank the organizers. First and foremost, because everything has really been done. I've only been here 9 weeks in the making, and I cannot take credit for what happened in DC and what's happening here. So I thank you, Mr. Audrick, and your team for making things happen. What I can do is to commit in terms of supporting such efforts, and also to emphasize that when you're looking at Uganda for business, many people think, oh, Uganda's landlocked. What can possibly happen in a landlocked country? We would like to see ourselves as Uganda being land-linked. In that once you're in Uganda, you are linked. You are in the middle of everything. And if you look at America's, the population is 400 million, but if you look at Uganda and its neighbors, you can clearly see a market of 300 million plus. And we're also one of the youngest populations in the world, with 70% of our population is under 30 years old. So we have an eager population that is ready, willing, and to work. And not just in the certain areas, but also to co-invest with you in farming, in agriculture, in all these areas. And I want to thank you, Mrs. Mwezi Susan, for being very fashionable. Even, women, we're always shopping. So even today, my first item that I shopped for were these beautiful earrings. They were gone. So thank you for your time. We appreciate you. Thank you for loving Uganda. And we really are committed to doing serious business with you. So I look forward to hearing what the panel has to say. And all the people from Uganda, I've just said to them, you're welcome. This is really cold, but just manage. Drink all the coffee that you can. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Uganda. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know our time so far, we have been really running late. We apologize for that. So we'll quickly go through the first panel. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to just switch our discussion a bit. And like Mr. Kamanzi said, we need to know more about Uganda. We need to know more in terms of why we are here. So we shall not handle it the normal style of a panel. We have a few presentations where we would like to speak to you a little more and show you more about Uganda. So my panel is about boosting trade between Uganda and USA, African Continental Free Trade Area, and African Growth and Opportunity, AGOA. So as Uganda, we are part of a number of agreements, and the African Continental Free Trade Area is one of the key and, should I say, the youngest agreement that Uganda is part of. One of the panelists will speak to this and give us a little more detail about what it is and why the United States of America needs to pay more attention to Uganda, because the moment you're with Uganda, you will be able then to tap into Africa very, very quickly and very easily. The ambassador alluded to this and said, we're not landlocked, we're land-linked. And we have the opportunity of being neighbors with very key markets that I'm sure you will be interested in knowing. So we will have one of our panelists speak to that. Then we will also have one of our panelists speak to AGOA and what it means to Uganda. So these two panelists are both from Uganda, and they will both have presentations, short but very powerful presentations. Then we'll go into our third panelist, who will also speak to why Uganda needs to really partner with the US and what we need to do to be able to actually get the orders we are looking for. So allow me now, ladies and gentlemen, to start off our section by introducing our first panelist. Our first panelist is Mr. Amos Tindiewa. He's currently the Managing Director of Fresh Cuts Uganda Limited, a meat processing company and exporting company. Mr. Tindiewa has over 18 years of experience in managing businesses and providing international consulting services in trade and investment promotion in East Africa and East and Sub-Saharan Africa. He has represented, the government of Mauritius to promote trade and investment in East Africa between 2020 and 2015. Mr. Tindiebwa has also been a consultant with donor agencies, including the European Union, UNCTAD, the International Trade Center, the African Development Bank. You can see here such a rich CV. The Bank of Uganda and Bank of Rwanda, the East African Community, the World Bank, Trademark East Africa, and then with other strengths in export promotion, investment and infrastructure, and macroeconomics. He has worked with IMF and Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce in India. He's a senior economist and has lectured at some of the prestigious universities in Uganda, such as Makerere University, Uganda Christian University, and is teaching macroeconomics and international trade since 2006. Tindiebwa is also a certified trade expert by JICA and SIDA in Sweden. So Mr. Tindiebwa will take us through our key topic today, and this is trade with Uganda to tap into the Africa Continental Free Trade Area market. So Mr. Tindiebwa, you're welcome. I know you have a presentation. You can please take the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, and thank you all the previous speakers. Once again, my name is Tindiebwa Amos. I'm the Managing Director of Fresh Gas Uganda. I was happy to see that one of my customers in Uganda is a key businessman here in the US, Mr. Cody Obindiro. He knows Fresh Cut supplies high quality meat, which meets the US standard. I would also like to mention to him that some of the key markets or the key buyers I've seen here in the US are really companies that we have interest in, like the whole food, which I've seen buying a lot of fruit or food, beef, and other livestock meat, the Walmart, and the Sam's Club. These are companies that we are already working with in one way or the other, but we have not entered the US market. So we are here to make sure that we enter the US market through the trade representatives. I have a small presentation talking about trade with Uganda to tap into the ACFTA. We have been told the ACFTA is the African Continental Free Trade Area, and this is so far the youngest but the biggest continental free trade area. Being the biggest means that the opportunities are enormous for Ugandan companies and for US companies seeking to invest or expand their market footprint in Africa. Yesterday, His Excellency the President told us that he got AGOA a long time ago, but we are the ones who have delayed it to come. But it is better late than never. But I would like to mention that as we are looking at the AGOA market, we are also looking at the inflow of FDI, which can come and exploit Uganda's resource endowment. I am speaking on investment in Uganda, not as a government official for promoting investment, but as a business person who has experience in doing business in Uganda, who has taken advantage of the investment climate provided by the government of Uganda. The first slide talks about Uganda's resource endowment. Uganda is a country rich in minerals, rich in agriculture, rich in tourism, and we can only call it a priority investment destination. Uganda offers comparative advantage in several sectors. I am in one of the sectors, livestock. The chairman perceived the audit is in livestock, but there are quite wonderful opportunities in the tea sector, in the coffee sector, in the cocoa sector. The livestock sector is not exploited fully. We're just a handful of companies there, fisheries, grain, and so forth. We have a huge potential in the agricultural value addition segment. Much of the products that we have been exporting to destination markets has been mainly raw materials. But we have a lot to offer to exploit and process and export to the US market, and also take to the rest of the African markets that have been opened for us. Uganda, for instance, is looking at very big markets like Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Algeria, Egypt, but we have to make this strategically beneficial to Uganda by adding value to our products. And I am here to make a call to the people in the United States who have a lot of money to join hands with us to increase the supply of food, not only to the US market, but the rest of Africa, where food is much in need. Uganda has over 300 million metric tons of iron ore unexploited, with a huge potential of around $15.6 billion. Gold is around 221 metric tons, valued at $3.4 billion. And we also have a competitive advantage in sectors like education, ICT, and innovation infrastructure. So value addition is a very, very important requirement for Uganda in order to take advantage of these markets. Other fundamentals that we can talk about for Uganda is that for the last 2 years, we know the world economy was affected by COVID-19. But Uganda is one of the best countries that have successfully managed the COVID-19 and reduced the severe impact of COVID on businesses and the economy. There was a commission started by the COVID-19 Commission, which ranked Uganda the best country in Africa in terms of suppressing COVID. I think this is not mean achievement for the government of Uganda, and we are proud about this. The second issue is that Uganda is politically and economically stable for more than 30 years now. So if you are looking for a stable investment destination, Uganda is one of the best countries that you can go to. Uganda has a wonderful trade and investment enabling institutions. We have seen the Ministry of Trade here. We have seen the AGOA Country Response Office here. We have seen the Uganda Export Promotion Board here. We have seen the Coffee Development Authority here. And now we have higher entry initiatives like PASAID and the presidential investors around the table. All of these are making it possible for anyone to invest and do business in Uganda. I have seen the one person who said he has found it very difficult to do business in Uganda. I can volunteer to share notes with you because I'm doing business in Uganda, I'm exporting to the rest of Africa. I am only waiting to export to the American market through sharing the notes with you. Our competitive investment climate cannot be left unmentioned. One is that Uganda offers a 10-year tax holidays to investors or developers who are producing export, and particularly those who are doing export of value-added products from the Uganda's resources. Uganda offers duty exemption on importation of plant and machinery. I'm speaking about this not as a policy officer, because I've done it. I am a businessman. I have got these incentives from the government of Uganda. There is also free access to land for investors. Uganda Investment Authority runs an investment bank, and this covers about 16 square miles across the country. So this is land that the government will give you free of any form of encumbrances to develop your business, to develop your industry. Uganda also offers 100% allowance on capital repatriation. I think this has been talked about yesterday, but I just need to echo it. And also 100% expenditure on R&D, research and development, and training for any specialty skills. There are also tax and utility incentives in the special economic zones, and these are also very good for an investor. The cost of labor force, I think, is the most competitive in the whole of East African region. Uganda offers a large pool of labor, educated labor, and very cost-effective labor force. Last on this point is that Uganda is the most open economy to FDI. I think I have done business in Uganda, but doing business elsewhere is much more tedious than doing it in Uganda. Sometimes they say we are too simple, but we are simple for a purpose. We want to do business and want to be a globalized country for people who want to do business. Uganda and the African Continent Free Trade Area. Yesterday, His Excellency told us that we have a population of around 43 million people. And I am approximating it around 45, because at least 2 years I've already moved. And when you look at the SFTA, it has a combined population of 1.3 billion people. And by 2050, this will be over 2 billion people. The President told us that we are lucky that Uganda, Africa has superseded China and India in terms of the population size. I happen to have worked in the economies of India, and I know the power of a bigger population. If you have a bigger population, you can't go wrong with business. We have a small population, then you know that the challenges. Uganda is strategically located at the heart of Africa. And people used to say that Uganda is a landlocked country. But as Brenda mentioned, we call it a land-linked country, because we have also developed initiatives of inland ports, where you can import your goods, they move to the inland port and be cleared within Uganda. And secondly, Uganda being part of the regional integration arrangements, we have a direct benefit to the port of Mombasa, the port of Dar es Salaam, the port of Lamu. We are as good as those standing in Kenya or standing in Tanzania in terms of trade. So we are a land-linked country. So, looking at the total population of Uganda, the total population of the East African community with 300 million people, looking at commerce at 700 million people, and the ACFT of 1.3 billion. This is no mean population. It's not a small population that we can tap into. Uganda as a gateway to the ACFTA. Most of the regional markets need our meat. Most of the regional markets need our milk. Most of the regional markets need our coffee, our cereals, and we are currently not supplying enough. and we are currently exploiting enough to go to these markets. Now that the ACFTA has removed all the barriers to trade with the region, the African continent, then what is remaining now is to have as more people, as more businesses, using Uganda as a launching pad. We call it a launching pad to move to the rest of Africa. Uganda was among the first 54 countries to ratify the ACFTA agreement, and Uganda is among the 9 countries which have said, let's move, even if other countries are still saying this and that. And this is how integration moves. By the time other countries wake up, then Uganda should already be in the market. I think that's what we're trying to do. And we are already noting that ACFTA will boost intra-African trade by more than 52%. This is data from the Economic Commission for Africa. And we also have information that 17% of African exports are also intra-Africa. So we have a strategic, logistic, and comparative advantage to trade with Africa. But we need your participation in growing these exports. From the capital you have here, you can come and invest with us to take advantage of the ACFTA. What can Uganda potentially export to the ACFTA? I've already mentioned that we are landing to these ports where we can export from. Uganda is part of the East African Single Customs Territory. So you have no problems that your goods like in Mombasa or in Dar es Salaam. The customs officials are reading on one page and they are looking at your goods on the same page. Uganda can export milk, Uganda can export maize flour, Uganda can export fresh and processed beef products, cereals, cement, steel, coffee, vegetables, poultry, confectionaries, and I think people in tourism can tell us that we have most recent tourists coming from the rest of Africa, and they are becoming part of our tourism projects. Value addition, once again, I would like to emphasize this. We are interested in technology for value addition. We need to process these products into high value products that can fetch high on the international markets and bring more revenues to us. Uganda has the highest percentage of exports going to Sub-Saharan Africa. That is according to the World Bank information. And Uganda's earnings from African economies increased from US dollars 798 million in 2008 to 1.6 billion in 2018. You can see that our trade with the rest of Africa is growing, and earnings from non-African economies also increased from $927 million to 1.5 billion by 2018. So there is both advantages in trading with Africa and also tapping into other markets like the USA. Uganda has made significant investments in infrastructure, such as the construction of roads, as already said. You can move through the country like you are moving on this carpet, because I travel quite a lot as a businessman, because I look for cattle in different destinations of the country. And we have built several dams to generate electricity. And the government is mooting a consideration for special rates for cold chain processing facilities. And this will be a very welcome development for those who want to invest in agricultural value addition. Uganda embraced industrialization very long time ago, and recent studies by the African Development Bank has ranked Uganda as among the top 10 performers in industrialization. So that's how attractive and competitive our industrialization framework is and the policies. I've already mentioned much of this, and before I close, I'd like to tell the Cody that I talked about you when you had gone out, that you are my first market in Uganda and you are going to be my first market in America. And I want to work with you to reach the Whole Food, to reach Sam's Club. I took membership to Sam's Club yesterday to advance my negotiations and Walmart. So I want to work with you to achieve those markets. And I want to work with you to make the regulations of the U.S. Food and Drug Authority as simple as possible. Because I did a simple market survey here, and I found some of the products on the shelf which I may consider to be inferior to products. We will try to in this market. I thank you so much for listening.
And what it means for you to partner with Ugandans to get into that market. So ladies and gentlemen, for us to manage our time, we shall try to have to quicken our presentations and maintain 10 minutes for each presentation so that we have time where the audience will ask 1 or 2 questions to our panelists. So now allow me to invite our second panelist, Mrs. Susan Muhwezi. Mrs. Susan Muhwezi is a senior presidential advisor on AGOA and a trade-related matters. She is at the forefront of promoting trade between Uganda and the United States under the AGOA Market Access Initiative. In her line of vision, His Excellency, so in line with the vision of His Excellency of trade and not aid. Her commitment towards one of the key objectives of AGOA is to create job creation, and as such, she has been instrumental in the recruitment of the first 2,000 AGOA girls who were part of the apparel manufacturing targeting the U.S. market. Madame Muhwezi has been, under her stewardship, Uganda has registered growth of exports in the United States in terms of value and volume and product diversification. Currently, she is also the chairlady of Uganda Hotel Owners Association and the vice chairperson of the Uganda Travel Bureau and a board member of the Private Sector Foundation Uganda. Madame Muhwezi is a holder of a degree from Kenya University and a master's degree in leadership from Uganda Christian University. She is passionate on tourism, trade, and women empowerment. We welcome Madame.
Ambassador Rogi Kaponge, our ambassador to United States, the chairman of BASID, most importantly, people from Uganda and Ugandans living in the United States, good morning, and thanks for being here on Saturday. My topic is how Uganda is taking advantage of AGOA. I know many people hear about AGOA, but very few people know about AGOA. AGOA stands for African Growth and Opportunity Act. It was an initiative that was given by President Clinton's administration and the Americans in year 2000. And our president, as you heard, was the first African president to endorse AGOA, as visionary as he is or is. As you can see, it was enacted on 18th May 2000 for sub-Saharan African countries. And as we speak today, we have about 40 sub-Saharan African countries eligible for AGOA. It's set to expire in 2025. So when we were in Washington, part of the reason we were in Washington was actually to ask for the extension. When AGOA passed us an initiative, most African countries hoped then that actually American companies will come into Africa, collaborate with African countries to export to the US. But I must say this did not happen. So AGOA stayed. It was supposed to be a 5-year. Who invests expecting a return after 5 years? So not many companies actually came to invest in AGOA or to export under AGOA. And you will always hear that Uganda and many African countries have not taken advantage of AGOA. That was part of the reason. So, like I said, AGOA builds on existing US trade programs by expanding the duty-free benefits previously availed only under the country's GSP. Before AGOA, the countries were exporting to the US under a program called GSP. But under AGOA, we are able to access the US market. We combine AGOA and GSP program with about 6,500 product tariff lines, including those that were added by the AGOA legislation. The added AGOA products included items such as apparel, footwear, wine, certain motor vehicle parts, and a variety of agricultural products, chemicals, steel, and many others. So, I just made a table to show you how Uganda exports to the US in terms of dollars, starting with year 2013, and I put it in 3. AGOA excluding GSP. GSP, then those items that enter the American market under no program, neither GSP, neither AGOA. And probably, I think, when you look at this graph, you can see how we've been progressing as AGOA, but also our total exports to the US. If you get the AGOA exports, you get the GSP, that is the generalized system preference, and then those exports that come into the US without registering whether they've come under AGOA or they've come under GSP. And by 2021, all the exports to the US were about $92 million. And so when you heard Mr. Audrey Krawogo saying that we need to increase $6.6 billion, and the president yesterday said that's really very true, $6.6 billion. I don't know if he had looked at that graph to know why Mr. Krawogo is trying to push and persuade $6.6 billion. So you can see we have a market. We have a market in the US, but we have not utilized the market yet. But I'm hopeful that by coming here, and I read in this note Mercy Singh Passet, for also adding on the efforts that I've been trying to do for the last 20 years, and the Ministry of Trade and Export Promotion Board. It's not easy to come to the American market, but we know that with the help of people like our ambassador, like Olivier, and like most of you in the room, that we'll be able to increase those numbers. You know, when the president has this thing he always says, when you show him a graph like this, says, why are you comparing vitamins? But it's important to know where we are. So those are some of I did a comparison of our exports with other African countries, Kenya, Ethiopia, DRC, Tanzania, Uganda, and I put Uganda in yellow, and Rwanda. And in the last column, you can see a percentage. And in reality, Uganda isn't doing badly in terms of percentages. Not in terms of the money that we have here, but in terms of percentages. I was discussing with a few people this morning, trying to find out what in 2021 DRC Congo has exported to the US that has raised its percentage to that. I think Mr. Wabugo probably knows it could be some mineral or something, or some oil that is coming here, but those are the percentages where Uganda stands as of now. What are Uganda's key exports to the US over the years? Of course, it's coffee, it's casein. I don't know how many of you know a product called casein. It's got out of milk and it's from a company called Amos Dairies. It was doing very, very well actually until the pandemic. Cut flowers, oil seeds, apparel, home decor. When I talk of home decor, I mean crafts and cocoa. Those were our products that have been entering the US market. That is in 2017. In 2018, we had edible fruits, leather. That doesn't mean that the ones in 2017, but we keep adding on the list. Tobacco, cut flowers, oil seeds, fabric, casein again, and fish. Because we try to monitor which new products are coming on the market. In 2019, we still had fish on top of the list, essential oils, home decor, cocoa, casein, oil seeds.
About where we've been. The central bank, the Bank of Uganda, has previously had initiatives to deal with export finance, 91, 94, in 2000, and all the rest. It becomes, okay, here, it's okay. And recently, so what happened about that previous history is that it was actually implemented. We learned lessons. We saw companies come to utilize, for example, the export credit guarantee that was piloted. But the feedback was that the Bank of Uganda processes were a little cumbersome. Number two, they could not easily access this finance. Like you see the people in the grain industry, I have my grain ready for export in the warehouse. How quickly can I access this money to take my grain? It wasn't very flexible. And recently, actually, this year, the Uganda Bankers Association introduced another initiative of export facility, about 1 trillion Uganda shillings. That's about how much US dollars? About 4 million? About 4 million US dollars. And that is, it's more.
About $500 million.
$500 million. $500 million. Thank you, Chairman. And this is at 12% in Uganda shillings, and in US dollars about 6%. The lending rate is short-term, 3 to 5 years. We still find as per se that it's very expensive still to use this money for the private sector to do what they want to do. So what we need to do as Uganda, we need to set up an affordable export credit finance scheme. We need finance and capital that is affordable and patient capital. We propose that this scheme will be between 50 million to US dollars to 100 million, and interest shouldn't go beyond 7%. When I checked with Olivier, I said this money, it's possible actually to get this money from the US market, and that's why we are here. So the structure of the finance still is the credit finance in its formative stages. We think the private sector, particularly these institutions, should have a stake in it, and that's why previous export credit finances have actually not worked. Because you need a stake from Apex, coffee, grain, beef to have a share in that. Government has told us they will actually put money, maybe about to 55%. Commercial banks, not yet sure, but they are willing to put in money. And most importantly, Olivier and the team you are working with, the equity funds, the trade finance. If they can raise the ratio beyond 25%, it will be great. And this is an opportunity, one, to earn money on interest for this money that is lent out, but also to partake in the investments that Passaid intends to put up, water infrastructure, the cold chain, because we should be renting them out as the private sector, and the investors will earn money. So this is the most practical way, perhaps, for people investing, who want to invest in Uganda. The American companies to come and invest here. So we've got green light from government, particularly His Excellency. Go for it, but study it further. We've partnered with UNDP to bring in experts to study it further and have it done. Yeah, so this is it. And that's why we are here. We hope we get people who can come and invest with us in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moses, for painting a picture on our aspiration as a country. I'm going to jump and go straight to Larry. Larry, you've had the details of our aspiration as a country, but could you please help and paint a picture on your experience on export finance? Is it actually possible for businesses from Uganda to play within that space, with support from the U.S. market? Give us an idea of your experience around that subject.
I think that from my experience, actually the U.S. diaspora community is a great source of export finance for African businesses or Ugandan businesses that are looking to really grow and scale their enterprises. One particular strategy that I've seen work are Ugandan African businesses that are looking to scale to across borders for inter-African trade. I think one of the slides from one of the early presentations talked about such a low number. I think it might have been 17% of inter-African trade. And those numbers can be increased tremendously from U.S. Black diaspora investors looking to support Ugandan businesses that are trying to scale to other countries on the continent of Africa and scaling globally. And the thing about diasporan capital coming inflows into Uganda, in a lot of cases, it's cheaper money than getting money locally to make these types of investments, because diasporans have access to money in the U.S. at a much lower cost and a much lower rate. Now, once they understand, which is one of the major barriers that we have to address, so once they understand the business markets in Uganda a little bit better, once they understand the risk, have a fairer perspective on evaluating risk on the continent, which Ugandans can play a major role in helping Black diasporans understand the risk, understand the businesses, and understand the growth opportunities. Then they will free up all sorts of money facilities for Ugandan businesses. And where obviously the idea of having patient capital is of importance. But those things, I think we can get to that common ground with a better level of understanding, because that's a market that hasn't really been tapped in, of African businesses going to this foreign private sector or private investors to be able to make these types of investments. This is one of the things that Olivier and I are actually working on, is creating excitement among diaspora investors, many of whom are first-time investors, many of whom invest all over the world, but directing their attention to the continent of Africa, helping them become more comfortable and helping them be able to address some of those misnomers and miseducation that they might have about investing on the continent.
Thank you very much, Larry. Olivia, let me come to you. You've heard what Moses had to share about our aspiration. You had the perspective that Larry shared. You sit in a very unique position. You understand both the market in Uganda. You also understand the opportunities for businesses, exporters from Uganda to access both patient and affordable capital from this market. Please share your perspective on this topic.
Thank you so much. If you allow me, give me maybe 1-2 minutes just to share with you my story. Usually I don't like to talk about myself, but as a person in diaspora who is an African immigrant here in America, arriving here, the challenges we faced, and going back to Africa and coming back again. I came here as a finance expert from Switzerland. I left Africa, I was a teenager, like 17 years old. My passion was finance. I went to Switzerland. Every day I woke up in the morning, I'll be watching the screens of on CNBC, you know, on the stock exchange. Lines going up, going down, understanding nothing. I would wake up in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning. I said, I want to be one of these people who sit in this trading floor at the New York Stock Exchange, be one of them. To me, it was a dream. This will never happen in my life. I'm a dreamer. I finished my master's degree in Switzerland. My first job was with one of the jewelry companies doing business in New York. They moved me to New York to do work there. My heart was not in what I was doing in the logistics. The jewelry company was doing jewelry logistics. My heart was in finance. I wanted to be a trader on the New York Stock Exchange. After 1 year, I met a guy at JP Morgan Chase. I was looking at those beautiful buildings, you know, at Wall Street. This is a beautiful building for JP Morgan Chase. A small guy coming from Rwanda. I will never dream I will be working in that building. I just spoke to somebody, like a Larry type. I said, my dream is to become a broker, a trader on New York Stock Exchange. Maybe one day if I can be, I will have achieved my career dream. He told me, this is your dream? Yes. He said, next day, come to me, you got the job. That's where I started trading on the New York Stock Exchange. I became one of the traders in the trading room of JP Morgan Chase. I started trading around $60 billion US. They moved me to Chicago. I managed around 6 branches of JP Morgan Chase in Chicago. At the time, at the level where I became one of the top producers in the Chicago East Market here where I live right now. However, I felt like my dream is not fulfilled if I cannot help my people. I'm doing okay, but how about my people? Many years later, I received Minister of Finance of Rwanda coming here. I moved from JP Morgan Chase to Citibank. To make a story short, I found myself, the government of Rwanda asking me, can you help to build the financial sector of Rwanda, setting up the capital market or securities market, helping us to be able to use MasterCard, Visa card, being able to raise money, long-term finance. That's what we are talking about. Most of the Africa, including, is a short-term, what we call money market. I said you can do capital markets. It means long-term investments. So that's my story. My story, I became expert in finance. I went to Rwanda. I helped to raise money for Rwanda here. You see, who is flying now. Kigali Convention. Then my dreams were not fulfilled, not until I connect my sisters and brothers temporarily. Until they come home, until I see every single sister and brothers, they can't come home when they call home, I won't be satisfied. That's why Rara and I were working to make sure our sisters and brothers who came before us are back home. They are given a home to Uganda and to Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, if we want to see successful Africa, it can only happen when we connect with our brothers and sisters, African American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latino, who are lost somewhere. My dream also, my next dream, my career dream, I achieved that. Now my next dream to see connecting each other. Once that happens, we're not going to ask ourselves about this trade finance. This is a small thing. We need to create our, please believe me, I'm not here to tell you STA is doing this, Exim Bank is doing that, I'm beyond that. We need to create our African finance models. We don't need an Exim Bank, we don't need FME, we don't need World Bank. We need to create our economic systems, financing systems that is customized according to our needs, our culture, everything we are doing. That's what my passion today. I'm not here to tell America is doing this, let's do the same. I'm saying to you, we need Americans as a partners. We need Chinese as a partners. We need Indians as a partners, but we don't need to use their models. We can create our own. We have expertise in this room. When I went to Rwanda, I was in sales. I have never touched any, how to build the stock exchange, how doing all those things. But we did it. With a team of Africans, we did ourselves. My partner was a Kenyan. We worked together to develop the whole East African connection, connecting banking system, financial systems. Now we have one market. So that's what I'm saying to you. I'm not taking your time. What I'm saying is, you coming here, let's come together. As Rami said, we all have expertise in finance. Create 50,000, 100,000 you want to create. There is an export credit finance scheme you want to establish. We can create even bigger than that. Rami and I have access to big money managers. Here in Chicago, we have what we call John Rogers with Ariel Investments. He's managing over $10 billion US. We are the same team. We have the same group called Business Leadership Council. We meet every day. Those are big money. Let's bring more, let's be ambitious. We can do it. We can make it happen. So I invited someone from the US SBA, Small Business Administration, who was here before, but he left. When he left, that I was sitting in this chair, he was supposed to sit here. Those are programs we run at the chamber. We have various programs whereby US companies, including myself here in the US and in Chicago in the US, I have around 4 companies in finance, in technology, and the trade. So we raise money. So what I raise money, I channel these funds to Africa, because I'm doing also in Africa in 6 countries. In Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Ghana, Ethiopia, and very soon in DRC. So those, I take my cheap money here, send money to my companies in Africa. Now I can tell you, I can see the light how to become a millionaire. So my challenge today, what I'm telling you today is, the people we see outside the vendors right here, let's aim in the next, as the chairman you said, let's have one of billionaire here outside. We can make it happen. We remember good collections. Identify me 1 or 2 or 3. Rami and I will make them billionaires. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivier. I think your message is clear. One thing that has come out, first of all, is that dreams do come true. And just like you are able to dream big, you have thrown the challenge back to us, we can also dream big. You also talked about connections. One thing that is clear, ladies and gentlemen, on this panel, we are not short of connections, we are also not short of expertise. Now, unlike the previous panels that we had, this is a topic that is close to the hearts of many exporters that are here. And so I'm going to open up this discussion to the floor for the next 10 minutes, if you'll allow me. Yes, let's just hear any submission coming from the floor. Any question about export finance? If you raise your hand where you are, I'll make sure that you get a microphone coming next to you. It could be a question, it could be a submission. Maybe the experience you want to share is pretty much what Olivier and Larry, I see a hand back there. There's a gentleman who raised his hand. I'll be happy to pick a lady after him. Yeah. So, Moses, you have had the dream to set up a facility that is in the region of $15 million. It is way more than achievable. Yes, go ahead with your submission.
Thank you very much, facilitators. Thank you, colleagues. My name is Abakar Mandela from Royal Grants. I'm one of the vendors from Uganda. One, I would appreciate our facilitator for this bringing very pertinent point. My submission basically is recognizing that we need cheap but reliable long-term finance. And it's not only two types of finances. We need also to look at where we build financial mechanisms, the streams of finance mechanisms, but also systems of governance within the finance systems, so that it creates transparency, it creates accountability, and also builds the confidence in the financial systems. So that is also very important, because finance and asset management is very key for the growth of the enterprises. And therefore, we need to build confidence with the systems and have transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that submission, Mr. Ander. I see a hand up on that side, please. Is that Mr. Tibiu? Okay.
Thank you, Moderator. I'm happy to hear from Arabella when he said we need to develop our own financing model, because models elsewhere in the other countries is unique to that particular country. I take an example of the financing model that happens in India, whether it is a bank loan or export finance. In India, a business can access funding by mere family name. The business name of a family qualifies you to access finance. Probably here in the US, your physical or home address is enough guarantee to make you access finance, such as a car, finance to start business. But back home in Uganda, access to finance is about hefty collateral securities. The process is the same with commercial banks. We have had so many financing initiatives starting, but the procedures are the same, and at the end of the day, the finances are not utilized. So how can we customize this financing to make sure that it is easy to get, cost-effective, and accessible to people who have credible business proposals? Not about collateral security, not about anything. UDB, for instance, needs collateral security 2 times bigger than your business balance. They need a positive bank balance. So if I have a positive bank balance, how are you going to for business finance? If I have to business twice the money I'm looking for. Why do I have to look for business finance? So I think those who are advising us to start a finance should put those in mind. What is unique to Uganda? How can Uganda get a tailored business finance scheme that will benefit all? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kindema. I will stop at that. So, gentlemen, there you are. You had the submissions from the floor. I'd like to give you an opportunity to just share your parting shots. And this time I'll start with Larry in just 2 minutes, and then I'll go to Olivier. Moses, you will have the final word on the parting shots to close this discussion. So, Larry, please. In 2 minutes, your parting shots.
Yeah, I'll keep mine short, but I think that in a lot of scenarios, policy informs a lot of how money is controlled, and in order for that policy needs to be informed by private sector. I think when the public sector, when you rely on the public sector to determine policy that's going to impact the private sector, there's always going to be a gap in terms of what's reality and what that impact is to the private sector. I think that there needs to be more opportunities for the private sector to have their voice heard as it relates to what those challenges are to receiving funds and applying for funds, because sometimes there are funds that are available and they're very difficult to apply for based on the criteria that the funds are there, let alone the cost of capital. So for me, I think there has to be a better line of communication between the private sector and the public sector on what those policies should be, on how funds are deployed, how they're applied for, to be more specific to the needs of the businesses that are applying. I think the audience member made a good point that in a lot of cases, money in other places is determined based on that particular geography, right? It's customized to that particular geography. And I think there needs to be an opportunity for customization of where money is needed and how it gets there. That's more responsive to the needs of the businesses that are applying for money.
Okay, thank you very much. Olivier, over to you.
Thank you so much. I must agree with what Gary said. The PPP is a way to go, public partnership, then agreements such where we bring private sector and the government partner to move forward. That will be, I will join you on that, I agree on that. Second, how to bring the cost so high to access to finance, right? So how to bring it down is bring more investors, like US investors. How do you bring more investors? Would be to create the fund, the scheme, funding scheme, targeting a specific sector. In this time, we're talking about agriculture. How can we, when we're talking about export credit finance, is good, don't get me wrong, really is about the trade finance, is good. Trade finance, we're talking about the borrowing, we're talking about private, about trade finance, about borrowing, then equity, bring shareholding. And I think I'm going to give you a free consultancy advice on what I've seen has been going wrong for many years for African countries, so long. This issue for cooperatives, completely wrong. I've seen the countries, they always for bring farmers together in the form of cooperatives. In America, it's not like that. It's about corporate. When you bring those farmers together, give them a share. They form a company. Everybody has a shareholding, shares in the company. So, because when you form a cooperatives, you mobilize the farmers, you bring them together. The big men, the corporate will come from Kampala, take everything. Guess what? Who makes money? Those are big companies coming from Entebbe, going to somewhere in the village. The farmers are left behind. They don't make any money, right? To me, if you change that form of that structure, you make those farmers being more shareholders. They have ownership in terms of shareholders, not in terms of cooperatives, right? It's more social connectivity. I think this is wrong. That's how Americans has been able to build the billionaires and the billionaires, because corporate is about return on your investment. Those cooperatives, there is no return on investment as such, because somebody else is controlling you here. If we want to make this corporate in Africa, we have to change this business model we have today, and then make those farmers become billionaires themselves. You can imagine if you mobilize the whole village, you bring together, they bring the assets in the corporate, how they can become rich. So that's what I think that model is not sustainable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moses, you had the submissions. I'd like to give you an opportunity to bring the discussion home. We started with you. Let us close with you.
Thank you. Apollo, how I wish my chairman Audrey had the last word. If you allow, he will.
He will.
I was at the farm. I'm a farmer. I grow nice avocados, as avocado and cheese. And Audrey called me and said, Moses, how do we get out of this high cost of doing business? Think about export credit finance. He gave me through a lot of documents at me. We dug it out. Involved the Bank of Uganda and retired people. So I would want to give it to you, Chairman, especially when my comments are, Apollo, it is possible. And you sound American, yes we can.
Yes.
They are telling us we are aiming too low. So I'm completely excited. Number two, an extensive consultation is happening on the legal and institutional framework. What Abu Bakr mentioned in grain, the risk management and all that, how to make it more accessible, different from other schemes. Then launch the scheme. That's when we should be able now to come to this market and ask for partnerships. But this was really sounding here, and it's great to know that it is possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I have one microphone for Chairman? Would like to have a word from him over this issue. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I opened up the floor for this discussion because it's an emotive issue for us as Ugandans because of the high cost of finance that we face when we're doing business, especially for you as exporters.
I just feel that we don't want to lose this concentration.
Yeah.
If I could speak after, as there are many lessons we have picked. You don't know what's happening in here. People are signing deals to offtake grain. There is someone who wants to buy the entire Kapeka. So things are happening quietly. So let's close. As in close this session. I know what you want, Moses. The question is, if there is $100 million, government will match it with another 100. So let's just see the construction you have in the mind that is African, informed by what has happened in the rest of the world. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have solutions that are in the making, still in the kitchen. Chairman and the rest of the team, especially from Pasay, I think I had, if I had Olivier correctly, and also Larry, they may have extended their hand of support in terms of expertise to work with the rest of the team in crafting this, putting together the scheme. I think that the role for us is how do we build a pipeline of bankable deals that are inclusive in nature, that are a good blend between corporate organizations and cooperatives, and bring them onto the table and see and ensure that by the time we meet next year, there are businesses that can stand up in front and say, guys, I was able to access affordable capital that is patient in nature. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Over to you.